Okay, if you've got three terms in the denominator, okay, then if they are different terms, okay, the right thing would be to split them up into three separate fractions as so, right? So you've got x plus 2 is the denominator, x plus 3 is the denominator, and x plus 4 is that denominator. That's the right thing to do. However, if you've got a situation like this, okay, x plus 2 and then x plus 3 all squared, the tempting thing is to sort of write it like this. That's tempting, isn't it? Because x plus 3 all squared is x plus 3, x plus 3. And then you might think that then you write it like this. So then you have a over x plus 2 plus b over x plus 3 plus c over x plus 3. You split it up that way. However, that approach is wrong, okay, when you've got a bracket squared here, okay? It's what is called as a repeated factor. Okay, so I've written that there in big writing there. Okay, we've got a repeated factor. In other words, the factor x plus 3 appears more than once, it appears twice. So you cannot use this approach then, okay, by thinking you can write it out twice and then you have b over one of them, c over the other. It doesn't work like that. What you must do is as follows. Okay, so if you've got that, right, you then must split it up again into a, b, c, but it'll be a over x plus 2 plus b over x plus 3, okay, which is the factor here, and then plus c over x plus 3 all squared, okay? So that's the approach you always take, all right? So let's look at this question here, okay? So a very similar question, but you can see here I've got a repeated factor of x minus 3 here, okay? So what you do is, again, you've got to do your ABC, okay? Okay, now the a is quite simply over the x plus 2, okay, so the first term there, that's easy peasy. The b then will be over that factor that we've got here, which is x minus 3. But then your c will be the x minus 3 all squared. Okay, so that's what you've got to do when you've got a repeated factor. Okay, so then, just like before, this on the bottom here, you take over and multiply. So 5x squared, take away 16x, take away 2, is then these two brackets. And then one of them squared, obviously, and then we're going to have a square bracket then to write all this in. Okay, so we've got a over x plus 2 plus b over x minus 3 plus c over x minus 3 all squared. Okay, so multiply out that bracket, then let's expand. So you've got then this bracket and x minus 3 all squared times then a over x plus 2. Doesn't matter what order you write it in. Okay, so you can see then the x plus 2 is going to cancel, isn't it? Okay. And then we're going to times that pair then with the second term, which is b, yeah, over x minus 3. Now be careful here, the x minus 3 will cancel only with one of them, yes? The power will go. So x minus 3 all squared divided by x minus 3 is x minus 3. Okay, just using rules of indices there. And then finally then multiply that pair by the c. What you'll find then is, actually the whole thing cancels then, yeah? The x minus 3 all squareds all cancel. So you end up with 5x squared minus 16x minus 2 equals to a bracket x minus 3 all squared plus b bracket x plus 2 x minus 3 plus then c at the end, just x plus 2. Okay, so you might think that, oh, it's straightforward now, just like before. However, there's a slight twist here. You've got to be careful, right? So the first thing you look at, well, what can I set x to be? Well, let's set x to be 3. Yeah, that will get rid of two of the terms there, 3. So plug it in. Okay. So if I put 3 in there, that will disappear. Be 0, put 3 in there, that will be 0, because that's 0, the whole thing will be 0. Put 3 in there, you're going to have then 5 there clearly, isn't it? So work that out, okay. Again, I haven't got my calculator, so I think that's minus 5 there when you work that out, and you've got 5c here, so that means c then is minus 1. Okay, what else could I set x to be? Well, minus 2, yeah, negative 2. We'll eliminate that, because make that 0, so plug it in. Okay, So it's only that term that's going to stand. So you're going to have negative 2, negative 3 all squared. That will be 0, that will be 0 as I said earlier. So we work that out. What will that be? 50, I think. You work this out, yeah. Now be careful here, that's negative 5, yeah? Minus 2 minus 3 is negative 5. You've got to square it then, so you get positive 25a. So that means then a will be 2. Okay? Now you're left with the question then, right? I've got a, I've got c. What else can I set x to be? Okay, so that I can work out b. And the trouble is, there's no value you can set that sort of eliminates, that gets rid of things like we had here. Okay, and that's what happens with repeated factor, because you have 3 letters, A, B, C, and you've got a repeated factor, there won't be then the third one. Okay, that sort of gets rid of it for you. So what you do is then you just pick any value of x, okay, and then we'll work out then what b is. Now, you can be smart as well. So if I set x to be 0, okay, then there's less work for me to do. Okay, so setting x to be 0, well, that will disappear. So I just got negative 2 there. Put 0 in there. I'm just left with negative 3. Okay, all squared. Put 0 in there. Okay, that will be left with 2 in there. 0 in there, I'm left with negative 3 there. And 0 in there, I'm left with 2 in there. Okay, so this all becomes 9a. When you square that, that will be minus 6b plus 2c. Now the good thing is, I know what a and c is. I know a and c is, so I can plug that in. So I know a is 2, and I know c is negative 1. So, bit of maths then. So you're substituting in your a and c. Okay. And you can then work out what b is from there, if that makes sense. Okay, so basically, from that step forward, well, 18 take away 2 is 16. Take that over, so you have minus 18 is minus 6b. So that implies then that b will be 3, okay, when you divide through. So therefore, your final answer, well, it'll be a, which is 2 over x plus 2. B was 3 over then x minus 3. And c was negative 1, so minus 1 over x minus 3 all squared.